Department Agency Subcommittee is now in session. Today's Tuesday, March 16th at a little after 3. Lisa, please call roll.
Vice Chair Kiesling. Beck.
Here.
Bricken. Carr. Carringer. Chisholm. Halford.
Here.
Holsclaw.
Present.
Chairman Holsclaw, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Members have announcements, personal orders. Seeing none, I'll give you an update on the calendar for the committees that things have popped up and changed. Item number 2, HB 1359 by Marsh, has been rolled to the last committee calendar. Item 4, HB 845, we'll roll that to the hill of the calendar. And item 5, HB 1253, has been taken off notice. So with that, we'll take up today's calendar. Item number 1, HB 841 by Representative Williams. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and members. House Bill 841 is a bill that revises how fiscal review calculates fiscal notes as it relates to modifying criminal offenses and their sentences. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Committee member have questions, comments? You are recognized, Representative Beck.
Thank you. Chairman Williams, it's my understanding that what this bill is trying is going for here is to make when there's a bill that will extend incarceration, raising penalties or et cetera, there has to be the entire cost of that bill has to be budgeted the first year. Am I reading that correctly?
That is correct. The bill attempts to modify how fiscal review currently calculates it because of the Sentencing Act of 1985, and in the cases of passing new legislation, the way the money flows is dramatically different and much more complicated than I could probably describe. But what happens is if you have a reduction in the cost of incarceration, it can actually be more than the actual the amount to fund incarceration. So this bill would allow us to better understand how we calculate what the cost is to incarcerate folks or in a reduction of those penalties.
You're recognized, Beck.
I guess where I'm concerned with is that 85 decision was to settle or in reaction to a case against the prison systems here in the state. And I know obviously times have changed in 35 years, but why would we not want to budget up front for costs that are going to come down the pike in years ahead? That's where I guess I'm not putting everything together in my mind.
You are recognized.
Thank you. You are correct. The Sentencing Act of 1985 was not because of an actual lawsuit, but it was to head off a possible lawsuit. In the process of doing so, we had to figure out how to fund the construction of new jails for those that were to be incarcerated. Currently, the way we fund new jails as well as incarceration rates are done through F&A and Department of Corrections in collaboration with the Sentencing Act. And so what we want to do is try to look at a better way to where we fund those, so we're actually funding the incarceration in the same fashion we would any other department, instead of having them housed in two different departments.
You are recognized, Representative Beck.
But wouldn't, under this bill, for example, if I tried to raise the crime on something with imprisonment, I'm going to have a $10 million note as we sit here today, But if it's spread over 10 years, that would just be $1 million for each year. So we wouldn't make the full budgetary allowance for it this year, but you're going to like, and I hate to use the word amortize, but spread it over that 10-year period.
You're recognized, Representative.
Your amortization assumption is correct. That's technically how we were doing it, which is why we were having to fund the first 10, what it would be in those 10 years. The instance will be that we will have to fund appropriately what the cost is. As you well know, the jails do not immediately become full the moment you pass a law. But when it comes to funding the passage of that law, we not only have to fund that first year, but all 10 years. It was just, we don't do that in any other department in the state. And so what we're trying to do is figure out a better way to recalculate, and that's what this bill attempts to do.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is this an administration bill, or is this just something?
Yeah.
It's not an administration bill?
No, it's not an administration bill.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Seeing none, we ready to vote? On HB 841, those in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Chairman and members.
Okay, we brought, next item on bills, number 3, HB 464 by Chairman Littleton. And it looks like we do have an amendment on this, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and it does make the bill.
And what's-
it is 4848.
4848, which is correct. We have a motion and a second on the amendment? Second? Second. Please explain the amendment to us.
The Department of Revenue shall make available to the public the identity of the wholesalers and the suppliers operating in this state, including the addresses, brands, and designated territories for which a contact has been registered with the department. Such information may be made available electronically, and if a manufacturer, supplier, importer, non-resident seller, or non-manufacturer, non-resident seller registers a contract with a wholesaler for a brand, the Department of the Revenue shall provide notice for electronic means of such registration to the manufacturer, supplier, importer, non-resident seller, or non-manufacturer, non-resident seller, or as applicable, as the contracted wholesaler.
That's a mouthful.
It was.
We have any questions, comments on the amendment? Motion. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Amendment's adopted, goes on the bill. Now we're back on the bill, 464. Any questions, comments? You are recognized, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. And forgive me, I didn't get with you prior to this, so bring me in the loop. Is this a Department Rev? Is this administration bill that was brought? It was not then. Who brought this, Chair Lady?
You are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Ryan Haynes.
Oh, okay, I got it. That's fine. Okay.
Good enough. You are recognized, Chairman Giesling.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, and thank you, Chair Lady.
We have other questions, comments? Seeing none, we are voting on 646. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. You're moving on to full.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We're now on item number 6, HB 1496 by Representative Towns. You know your name?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I do.
We have a motion and a second on HB 1496, and there's no amendments. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Well, you delve into this and explain this to us, please.
Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to give you a little background and explain if you don't mind.
Try to keep it short.
Okay. Well, the fact of it is that some years ago, we had the Horse Racing Commission that existed, okay? What the Horse Racing Commission allowed to happen is that for the state of Tennessee to have horse racing, and they were pursuing that, okay? But because they could not generate the revenue at that time, because of our current condition at that time, they couldn't make the money. So no one came in and they allowed it to sunset. So we had it for years, okay? We passed the bill last year with the gaming, with the new sports betting, okay? And y'all see how much that's generated for Tennessee, hundreds of millions of dollars already. So now, with that being the case, and I pulled the bill back last year, that being the case, that will allow them to get the kind of financial synergy that they need in order to generate revenue in this state. Now, horse racing existed in Tennessee over 100 years ago. I don't know if you all know that. They had, I think, it was in Shelby County. One of our presidents, former presidents, used to come down there and participate in it. And I think what happened when they found out about the water at Hot Springs because of his polio, it started going over to Arkansas and Little Rock, or wherever the springs are over there. But we had it at one point. I think they were raising the horses in Shelbyville the whole 9 yards. So it's kind of like a history, a heritage that we've had for a long time. Around our state, you all know, around our state, we got quite a bit that's tearing us up financially as it relates to, betting and sports betting. This allows us to recoup some of that. If there would have to be people that want to come in, you can't do anything until actually have the commission, as I understand it. You got to have the horse racing commission. That kind of give you an idea of where we're going and what we're trying to encourage, which at the bottom line, improve the state coffers, I think, tremendously. Mr. Chairman, that's kind of it. That kind of give you my background, the history, and what we're trying to do. I think it certainly will be good for our coffers. I know that, and it'll be good for our border states as well.
So do you feel that this online gaming and all this is either going to help or hurt horse racing?
It's going to help it, because what you can do now, you can bet. It's a sporting event, so you can bet anywhere you want to, in the restaurants, wherever you want to. So it's going to help. It's going to help tremendously.
But what I've seen, like Churchill Downs and some of these, it's actually hurt it. Horse racing's on a decline while your sports betting, all that's. They've got other avenues to do betting and gaming.
Well, this is what I understand, and correct me, and don't let me get too far, because I'm not the expert. Okay, but if it's a sporting event, the horse racing is a sporting event. Okay, you don't have to be there. You don't even have to be there. So if you have one in a horse racing event in Shelbyville, and you want to bet in Shelby County, you can do it. So you have an opportunity for the entire state to bet on that particular event. So we believe is going to be a game changer. But now, later on, I'm sure we have experts to really testify and give us some real numbers and real data. But yeah, this helps, because if not, they're not going to do it. If they can't generate the revenue, they're not going to do it. It's as simple as that. They've already proven that. But I think we got an opportunity. I really do.
We have other questions, comments? You are recognized, Representative Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Towns, for bringing this.
Yes, sir.
You know, doing this job, you learn a lot of useless trivia. And did you know that in Tennessee, before the Civil War, they used to have a census of equine, and Tennessee had more equine than any other state in the nation at that time. And after the Civil War, Kentucky became the state with the most equine, and thus their
Kentucky
rich
Derby.
history with horses and their rich history with horse racing. And every year I get to go to Lexington. I didn't last year because of COVID,
Right.
and go to the horse races, and it is a wonderful experience, and I would love to see that experience here in Tennessee instead of all that money going across the border to Kentucky. So I'll be happy to support your legislation.
So will I call you the next nicely of the House with all that wonderful, useless information that you know?
It's for the horses, Chairman. It's for the horses. Let them run.
You're recognized, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Nicely is my friend, and he's also my co-sponsor on this bill.
I noticed.
There's no disparaging remarks about Senator Nicely because he's my good friend. Okay.
We have other questions. Seeing none, we're prepared to vote on 1496. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The noes have it. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And members.
We're now on to item number 7, HB 720. You are recognized, Representative Akeem. We got a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. We do have an amendment.
And you do have an, we do not show an amendment.
Okay, well, this was filed by Lieutenant Governor's office.
Is that on?
The amendment number I have on the financials.
What we probably need to do on this, Representative King, since we don't have this amendment, we probably need to roll this a week because we're not privy to that information.
Yes, sir.
You can run it without your amendment, but then that's going to have to add it on into full. So what do you want to do?
Okay, would I be allowed to tell you about the amendment even though?
No, we don't want to hear nothing about the amendment.
All right, sir. I'll attempt to run it if I could, sir. Okay, that look on your face, I think
We need a motion and a second to do that.
I'll roll it.
Okay. All right, we're good to go. So we have a motion and a second.
I think it's in my best, not in my best interest, but the interest of the organization that I roll it, if you would, if you permit me to do that.
You may roll that 1 week.
Thank you, sir.
The bill is rolled 720 for 1 week.
All right.
We're now on item number 8, which is HB 0964 by Representative Bricken. Do we have a motion and a second?
Somebody's gonna leave me hanging?
I hear crickets. Seeing none, bill fails for lack of motion. 964.
Can the special guest still testify, Mr. Chairman?
I don't see a reason since there's no motion or a second.
Well, the reason would be to educate our fellow legislators on this issue.
We can take it out of order if you'd like. We'll hear the testimony if you will. Is the committee willing to hear the, it looks like the committee is not in favor of hearing, so we will not hear that presentation. We're on to item number 9, 659. Representative Campbell, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. This bill is from the Office of the Comptroller and makes government work better.
We have a motion and a second. You guys? Okay, you got a motion and a second.
Thank you. This bill came to me from the Office of the Comptroller of the Treasury and would make government work better by removing obsolete references to the Office of Local Government. The situation is that the Office of Local Government was created by statute to be within the Comptroller's office to provide geographical information services and support for local governments. Those duties are still happening, but over time, the duties have been absorbed by the Division of Property Assessments, and a separate Office of Local Government is no longer necessary. And so one more time, it moves the assigned duties of the Office of Local Government to the section of the code outlining the duties of the Comptroller. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have questions, comments? Call for question. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Bill 659 moves on to full.
Thank you.
That brings us back to number 4, And I need to pass the gavel on to Chairman Kiesling.
We're back in session with item number 5, House Bill 845. Do I hear a motion and a second? Got a motion. Do I hear a second? Got a second. Also, the Chairman, you've got an amendment number 1. Would you please give us the tracking code, please?
The number I have is 4731.
That is correct, 4731. Do I have a motion and a second on amendment number 1? A motion and a second on amendment number 1. I hear none. So the amendment to House Bill 845 dies for the lack of a motion and a second. That puts us back on the, am I correct? That puts us back on the bill.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I've already gavelled. I've already gavelled it out. Been requested for a brief recess. We'll take 5 minutes.
I don't know. Wake up, Pat.
going to go back into session, and I'm going to pass the gavel back to the chairman. Is my understanding the procedure here, because I'm to all. I did not hear a motion on the amendment nor a second. Chairman Holsclaw, do you have a motion on the amendment?
Yes, I'd like to add amendment.
What is its tracking code, sir?
It's 4731
Okay.
to.
So you have a motion. Is there a second then on the amendment? Second. Okay, we have a second on the amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment? I hear none. Is there a question? I see no objections to the calling of the question. So, amendment number 1 with tracking code 4731. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. We're now on the amendment, on the bill as amended. Chairman Holsclaw.
I renew my motion.
Chairman renews his motion. Are there any further questions to the chairman? Question on the bill, and I see no objections to the calling of the question. We're ready to vote on House Bill 845 as amended. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. We will go out of session, and I will return the gavel to the chairman.
Of all the remaining bills left on today's calendar will be heard on the next available calendar. I do have a couple of announcements. State Department Agency Subcommittee final calendar will be heard Tuesday, March 30th, and the deadline for bills to be put on notice is March 24th. And another housekeeping order, this gentleman that I respect very much taught me how to dress. I don't have the centerpiece of my suit, but let everybody know it is his birthday. Mr. Kiesling, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Without further ado, and without objection, this committee is adjourned.